I'm Mallory Whitfield, and today I'm going to be talking with author MJ Logan about her experiences as a teen author. MJ published her first book when she was just 12 years old, and she is now up to 4 books. She specializes in kind of the horror genre. She'll tell you a little bit more about the books that she's written and published so far, and she's also going to be giving some advice for other teen authors and other aspiring authors, people who want to self-publish or publish their own books, kind of sharing lessons from what she's learned along the way. So let's dive right in. Hi, MJ. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for-
Yeah, so you're a teen author and you've written a whole series of books, not just one book, but a whole series of books. Can you share a little bit about what that series is? Give us an overview of what you write about.
Yeah. So I wrote the first book when I was 12. I have the first one with me. So this is the first one. And it's a 4-book series. It's mystery adventure, and it's about a group of kids who discover this curse at their school of some sort, and so they have to figure out what is the cause behind it, how to stop it. And as the series goes on, there is some personal issues between each character, and there's it dives deeper as it goes along, but that's the main overview of the series.
Cool. So you wrote the first book when you were 12. What was that experience like? Like, talk us about how you got interested in writing and doing all that.
Yeah. I've always been a reader, so reading has always been like my thing. I used to read like 3 books at a time, and it was just a whole thing. But I don't really remember how I got into writing. I had the idea of a curse at a school and kids trying to solve it while I was at school. I'm just not really paying attention to school. And so I started writing it, and I realized that I really liked doing it, that I got a lot of joy from it. So I wrote it on my computer without telling anybody. Just, it was kind of my own thing. I did tell my mom about it, and she printed out a copy of my writing. She like kind of stole my writing from me as a birthday gift. And so that's what kind of inspired me to continue the series and kind of have it as a business and a thing that I sell and produce.
So she printed it out, but she ended up helping you publish it, right? Like self-publish the book?
She's my sidekick. She's helped me through all of this because she's an entrepreneur and marketing, and I have no idea about any of that stuff. So she's helped me with, like, she's designed the covers for me and helped me publish and try to figure out purchasing books and selling them. And so she's helped me in that area of the whole business, which has been super helpful.
Yeah, well, and since you've had that guide and that mentor in your mom this whole time, I'm sure you've learned some stuff about the process of both writing and publishing, self-publishing a book since then. What have you learned? Like, what advice would you give for somebody who wanted to start out as a writer?
Be wise about money. It was the first thing I learned because I sold a bunch of books and got a lot of money from it and was gonna like keep it for like my own benefit. And my mom was like, you have to use that money to buy more books, to sell more books. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But you have to be able to reinvest in whatever product you have, whether it's books or whatever your business is, in order to keep your business going. So always have that mindset, like it is your money, but if you want to get so much money that you have money to spend and money to continue your business, you got to sacrifice some of that money, is the first thing I learned, which was difficult. But and just marketing and how to promote my business and different ways to reach different groups of people is very, very important. And to not stop, because if you stop marketing and you don't keep that momentum going, then it kind of fades out. So you got to keep it consistent. So you got a consistent flow of purchases and stuff like that.
So speaking of that, what are some of the main ways that you've been able to market your books and sell your books?
I have a Facebook account and Instagram account that I've been using to kind of steer people towards my website and towards the books. But mainly I've been doing marketplaces the past couple years. So I'll go to a marketplace, whether it's at a school or at just different public kid marketplaces, and I sell my books there. So that's where I've gotten most of my marketing and exposure is from different marketplaces that I've been selling at.
Can you tell us more about like what that experience is like? So I used to do craft shows, and I always found that it was really helpful to be in front of people face to face and kind of explain the story behind what you do. So share a little bit more about that with us.
My first marketplace was at just a public market in Aurora. And it was very interesting because that was the first time I had to explain the book to people and sell the book. So that was a really learning experience, was to try to sell the book without just sharing what happens in the book, because that's for them to read. And so that's been very helpful. And then there's a Young Americans Bank in Denver, Colorado, that does marketplaces for kid entrepreneurs. So I've been able to meet other kids who are doing their own businesses, and we've all had marketplaces where we've all practiced like marketing and selling with our books. And then I have my book signings as well. And so that's also a major help, because that obviously gives me more brand, but gives me, again, more experience as to sell my book and get more exposure. So I've been doing several of those. Those are my main production flow, and I get most of my purchases and stuff from those. So.
Yeah. So it's really about getting face-to-face as much as possible, but that's a little different these days, right? Because it's July 2020, so we're deep in the COVID pandemic. So how has that been, like, as far as transitioning to more online focused stuff?
It's been I can't do marketplaces from my house. And then my fourth book came out while we were in quarantine. And so I got purchases because people have been reading the beginning of the series, so they wanted to finish it. So that was helpful. But it's hard you have to market more, and you have to be more on the social media side of things if you can't physically see people and physically sell the books. So yeah, I've been trying to work on that, is more marketing from my house and from my room for the fourth book, which has been a weird curve for me. So
yeah. Have you learned anything about marketing via Facebook or Instagram? Or I know your mom has a background in the digital marketing stuff too. So do you have any tips or advice about kind of getting over that learning curve?
Well, I'm still on the learning curve, but I would like post something and wait a couple days and then post something, and you just kind of bombard it, like kind of just overwhelm people with it, get in their face about it on social media, because if you just post a couple of things, that's not really going to do anything. And I don't like doing that, but I'm learning to post more and just get myself more on people's feed so that they'll pay more attention and go to the site. So that's what I would say, as I'm still learning.
Yeah. It's always a learning process. All of those channels are always changing too.
I know.
So as far as like your own writing process, like back to the actual somebody who wants to be a writer, do you write every day? Do you have certain like techniques or things that keep you like motivated? What's your writing process like?
It is ever changing, because I wrote this series while I was still in school. I still am in school. And so it's not like I could write all day, every day, which is what I would prefer. But it's different for every book for me. Like the first book, I got my initial idea, but then I just kind of wrote it without thinking about it. There was one book I knew how I wanted to start it and how I wanted to end it, but I had no in between. And so I can't say specifically a process, just because it's different for everybody and it's different for every book you write. But I would suggest always having an outline, and always having either like a Google Doc or a sheet of paper that you can go back to and just write notes on, because it's never too late to go back, and you can read something and like not be okay with it. So always go back, and always have not necessarily a permanent plan, but have a general outline that you can always change and adjust as you go. Is how it's like the only same thing that happens for all four of my books, is that general outline. So
yeah. And as far as like editing and stuff, and how many other people are involved in different parts of the process of getting the book from writing to being self-published?
Yeah, it's mainly me and my mom, but my grandma, who is my mom's mom, is also Mayor House. She's my editor for the most part. I go through and edit it after I'm done writing it, just to see if it sounds okay. But my grandma is like my grammar wizard, and she goes through and makes sure it all like grammarly looks correct. And so she's a major help, and she usually joins me at some marketplaces when my mom can't be there. And so she's been a main help. It's the three of us. It's like a little triangle. But that's the main editor piece, is my grandma. She helps a lot with that.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have such a strong support system in your family, because writing a book is one of those things, like you do need a second set of eyes to sort of look over some of
this to you, especially when I'm writing at like last night I was writing until like midnight, and so I probably wrote some things that just I'll like read later and be like, that does not sound okay. So
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah. If you could go back and give yourself advice from the beginning of this whole writing process, is there anything you would tell yourself?
Dang. Well, my 12-year-old self wouldn't believe where I am right now. So, because back then I just was writing for myself. I didn't think it'd be anywhere near where I am now. I'd say one piece of advice is to, I would probably say to, enjoy school, because back when I wrote the first book, I was so invested in the first book and the second book that I wasn't really looking up from my computer at all. So I wouldn't change anything, but I would probably tell my younger self to focus on your passion, but also be aware of your life surrounding that passion. But other than that, I wouldn't change much. So
Yeah. I think that's great life advice for anybody. So many of us get wrapped up in whatever we're sort of focused on in the moment and sort of forget that this life exists and life is short.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Is there any like particular resource that you would recommend to somebody, either a favorite book that's inspired you or a movie or some sort of resource?
I have gotten inspiration from a bunch of different TV shows and movies, and just taken snippets from that. But one thing I would say is there's multiple websites for this, but if you go online to like Google and search up other ways to say certain things, has been a huge help to me, because I can't just say said every time or say the same word just a bunch. And so using like a dictionary or thesaurus or just like websites that like different ways to say these things has always been a major help in all of my books, because I tend to be repetitive. And so I can always go back and be like, let's fix a couple of things so it's not the same word every page, every single time. So
yeah, I would think that for a writer, like expanding your vocabulary is helpful.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. How can people connect with you and buy your books online?
AuthorMJ.com is where I mainly send people, is because you can get all of my books on there, but also I get the order from you, and so I can sign them and personally ship them to you. So I always suggest that, because it's really cool to get a signature, and I get the most money flow from that, honestly. But AuthorMJ.com, you can get all my books there, but also you can get them on Amazon.com if you just search author MJ Logan. And you should probably search the death call with it, because it might not show up at first glance. So the death call, author MJ Logan, on Amazon, as well as barnesandnobles.com. It's selling online there too as well. So.
And we'll look you up on Facebook and Instagram too, right?
Yes. And then Facebook and Instagram, you can get all information about what I'm doing, future books. Like I'm writing a future one right now. And so you'll get all that information through there.
Ooh. Is the future one still part of this series, or is it a new direction?
It's a new direction, which is why it's taking me forever, because these last 4 books I've all written have all been about the same thing for the past years. And so this is the first time I've had to write like a new plot and new characters in such a long time. And so I've been struggling a little bit, but there should be future books in the future. But this series is closed, it's done, and I have all these future ideas that I finally get to.
Well, I wish you so much success.
Thank you so much.